Her husband returned to the capital to resume his post, and brought with him a woman from Jiangnan. She was gentle, pretty, and skilled in medicine. During a deadly plague, she had once saved his life. You don't need to worry. Yu Qing is just a secondary wife. She'll never surpass you. The household will still be yours to manage. Yu Qing will stay with me in Jiangnan while I serve as an official there. You can live peacefully here in the capital. In the future, even Yu Qing's children will be handed to you to raise. They'll call you mother.
Ha!
Isn't that a nice dream? He gets to live it up with his new wife in Jiangnan while I run this entire household for him. And now he even wants me to raise their child? I'd like to see how long the Song family can hold itself together without my dowry keeping it afloat. And whether that sweet little beauty from Jiangnan will still call him husband, in that soft, sugary voice. Snow was falling heavily outside. Inside, the Boshan incense burner was filled with aloes wood. The scent curled through the room, warm and soothing. My husband, Song Jiaoyuan, had just traveled over 1,000 miles to return from Jiangnan. The first thing he did after arriving was come to see me. He had fair skin and handsome features. He wore a dark teal brocade robe, the collar and hems embroidered with subtle bamboo leaf patterns, elegant and understated. Just by standing there, he looked like a nobleman straight out of a painting, refined and graceful. Husband, I stood up quickly, extending my hands toward him, my heart fluttering with joy and nervousness. But my hands touched only air. Song Jiaoyuan stepped back, dodging my touch. His smile was faint and distant. I froze. He had rushed to my room straight after returning, dust still clinging to his boots. He hadn't even changed clothes. Clearly, he had come in a hurry. If he was that eager to see me, then why avoid my touch? Why act so distant? A sinking feeling grew in my chest. Still, I didn't ask anything. I simply lowered my gaze and looked at the delicate tendrils of smoke rising from the incense burner, waiting for him to speak. But Song Yaoyuan stayed silent. Just when the silence became unbearable, his voice finally sounded quiet and low. Yining, I fell gravely ill in Jiangnan. A female doctor risked her life to save me. She has deep feelings for me, so I brought her back. His eyes kept drifting to the flower vase and folding screen in the room. Anywhere but me. He wouldn't meet my gaze. And in that moment I understood. So that's what this is. He had rushed here not because he missed me, but to get my approval to bring another woman into our home. The questions in my heart suddenly made sense, and all the anticipation and joy shattered into pieces. The peonies in the vase were in full bloom. The woman in the mirror was still as beautiful as ever. But time flies and people change. When I didn't respond, Song Jiaoyuan quickly added, I know this is hard to accept right now. But don't worry, Yu Qing is just a secondary wife. She'll never outrank you. You'll still manage the household. She'll stay with me in Jiangnan, and you can enjoy a peaceful life here in the capital.
Ha!
Peaceful life, he says. He gets to enjoy love and leisure with Zheng Yuqing in Jiangnan, while I'm left in the capital to handle his entire household. That's what he calls peace? I stared at him. When you asked to marry me, you swore to the heavens that you'd love only me your whole life, that you'd never take a concubine. And now, a flicker of embarrassment crossed Song Jiaoyuan's face. She saved my life, and she's deeply devoted to me. I can't ignore those feelings. Yining, don't worry, I'll make it up to you. Make it up to me? I laughed. With what, exactly? The Song family has nothing but an empty shell. What do they have to offer? For the past 2 years, it's been my dowry covering all the household expenses. They've spent my money, used my servants, and now they want me to wait on another woman? This is beyond insulting. Seeing me smile, Song Jiaoyuan looked relieved. I knew you were sensible and understanding. You'd never make things hard for Yu Qing. Go rest now, I'll go tell her you've come around. Wait, I stopped him. Does mother approve of you taking Miss Zheng as a concubine? Song Jiaoyuan frowned. Yining, like I said, Yu Qing isn't a concubine. She's a secondary wife. You'll live in the east courtyard. She'll stay in the west. You two are equals. And yes, mother has agreed. Even his mother agreed? So everyone in the household already knew, except me. My parents passed away in last year's plague. All I have left is a younger brother still studying at the academy. There's no one else in my family to stand up for me. They've decided I'm just a powerless woman who can't make waves. Fine. They want to treat me like I'm easy to push around? I looked in the mirror, adjusted my appearance, then stood up and followed Song Jiayuan. I'll go with you to see mother. His voice turned heavy. Ning, the decision's already been made. No matter what you say to mother, nothing's going to change. I'm marrying you, Qing. I stared at him in disbelief. Back when he proposed, Song Jiayuan knelt before my parents, swearing with all his heart to love me forever. Swore he'd never take another woman. Back then, the way he looked at me was full of admiration and tenderness, like I was the most precious thing in the world. Now all I see is indifference and irritation on his face. Then there's nothing more to say. You've had a long journey, get some rest. I'll take care of the household accounts, and once Miss Jung is officially part of the family, she can take over managing the home. I smiled faintly and called my maid, Mingyu, to escort him out. She'd probably heard everything from inside the room. As soon as he left, Mingyu burst into tears. Young madam, they've gone too far. You had someone else you cared about, but the Song family insisted on the marriage because of some drunken joke by your elders. They begged you on their knees to marry into their family. And now look at how they treat you. I waved her off. Enough, Mingyu. Go fetch my household tally from the accounts office. And get the inventory list of my dowry from the storage room. She blinked in confusion. But why do you need the dowry list just to check the accounts? I smiled. How else will I know how many holes I've filled for the Song family with my dowry? If I want a divorce, I'll need to take every bit of my dowry back with me. 2. I hadn't finished checking the household accounts when my mother-in-law, Madame Song, sent someone to summon me to the ancestral hall of the Song family. When I entered, she was already kneeling before the ancestral tablets of the Song clan, muttering to herself. She didn't even glance at me when I came in. She didn't ask me to bow, nor did she ask me to kneel. It was as if I were invisible. She just kept talking to the ancestors, recounting how Song Jiayuan lost his father at a young age, how he studied hard through years of hardship, and finally passed the imperial exam at 18, bringing honor to the family. In the end, she said that the Song family had only one male heir per generation, and in the 3 years since I married Song Jiayuan, I had yet to bear a child. I had failed the ancestors. She said it with tears streaming down her face, so much so that even the maid beside her was tearing up. But I didn't tear up because I understood what she was doing. She didn't summon me here to comfort me. She was putting me in my place. I clenched my fists tightly, my nails digging deep into my palms to suppress the anger in my chest and force myself to stay calm. After her little speech, she lit 3 sticks of incense and only then turned to me and said, Jiayuan must have told you about Yuqing already, hasn't he? You mean to say, mother, that you're not against her becoming part of the household? I replied, my tone slightly mocking. Maybe that hint of sarcasm pricked her, because her expression darkened and her tone turned harsh. One of the 7 grounds for divorce is being barren. You've been married to Jiayuan for 3 years and still haven't shown the slightest sign of pregnancy. The fact that he hasn't divorced you is already a blessing. Now he's merely taking a second wife. Do you intend to stop him? I stared at her well-maintained face for a long moment, and the longer I looked, the colder I felt inside. When I first married into the Song family, she had been gaunt and pale, your typical widow. It was me who nourished her with ginseng and bird's nest soup every day for 3 years, until she became the fair and slightly plump noblewoman she was now. My gold and silver had raised 2 ungrateful wolves. You misunderstand me, mother. I have no intention of stopping my husband from marrying Yuqing. Since you also approve of this match, I'll finish sorting the household accounts tomorrow and hand them over to Miss Yuqing. Madame Song seemed surprised by my response. She froze for a moment before saying, How could that be? Yuqing is a female physician. What does she know about managing a household? I smiled. Well, she can always learn. Hasn't she already moved into the residence? You could teach her yourself, mother. Madame Song's eyes flickered, and she forced a smile. Ening, that's not how you should think about this. Giving you the household keys was a show of respect. Now that you can't bear children, if you were also stripped of your position as housekeeper, how would you assert any authority in the household? You've done a good job managing things these past few years. Zhao Yuan and I are both pleased. We'd be most at ease if you continued running the household. Looking at the scheming look on her face, I couldn't help but chuckle coldly. Of course, they were pleased with me managing the household. Zhao Yuan's father had been a compiler in the Hamlin Academy, noble in title, but poor in reality. Zhao Yuan himself was posted outside the capital, a mere fifth-rank prefect. The entire family had no other source of income. When I married in, the Song estate was an empty shell. It was my dowry that kept them afloat. I bought Madame Song high-end orchid bud tea that cost dozens of taels per ounce. I let her feast on bear paws and camel humps. I also renovated the residence, turning it into one of the most prestigious homes on the pricey Vermilion Bird Avenue. Every season, the family's clothes, jewelry, and seasonal fruits all came from my family shops, practically at half price or as gifts. Back then, I truly wanted a good life with Song Zhaoyuan. I didn't care about spending money on his family. After all, my maternal family were imperial merchants. Saying we were as wealthy as a nation wasn't an exaggeration. When I married, my mother gave me dowry shops covering half of the capital and countless acres of farmland in the suburbs. Even just the scraps I gave to the Songs were enough to fatten them all up. But I guess they got too used to luxury, and it rotted their brains. Now that my parents are gone, they think they can discard me like a use tool. Thankfully, my mother warned me to be cautious. I had my dowry list split into two versions. What the Song family saw was just the tip of the iceberg. The real assets, I kept in my own hands. Mother, I said coolly, I've been childless for 3 years. Naturally, there must be something wrong with my body. Before, I had no time for treatments while managing the household. Now that Miss Zheng is joining the family, it's the perfect opportunity for me to rest and recuperate. I'll do my best to give the Songs an heir. As they say, of all unfilial acts, having no descendants is the worst. I hope you can understand my sincerity. With the heavy labels of lineage and filial duty pressed down, Madame Song couldn't say much more. After a moment's thought, she frowned and said, "Then let Yuqing manage things for 3 months. Once your health improves, you can take back the household." Very well. I smiled and nodded. You can rest assured, Mother. 3 months would be more than enough for me to go through the real dowry records and assess the shops and land, and to purchase a new house of my own outside. Of course, without my money to supplement things, my husband and Miss Zheng's wedding would have to be a bit more modest. That's more like it. Isn't it nice to get along peacefully? Madame Song patted my hand with a smile full of fake affection. Miss Zheng will be joining me for a meal in my chambers tomorrow. The two of you should meet. As sisters, you'll both serve Zhao Yuan well together. Zheng Yuqing was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Her fair, delicate oval face, almond-shaped eyes brimming with charm, and the graceful way her features moved exuded endless allure. She wore a crimson Chongbei robe paired with a pearl-white embroidered skirt, her figure dainty and alluring. But what caught my eye was her hair, jet black and coiled into the high, intricate bun of a married woman, adorned with pins and ornaments. Clearly, she and Song Yaoyuan had already consummated their relationship. Even though my heart had long gone cold, the sight of that matron's hairstyle still sent a sharp pain through my chest. While I stayed in the capital, worrying over Song Jiayuan's affairs, serving his mother, caring for his younger sister, and managing the household flawlessly, I also regularly sent silver down to Jiangnan, fearing he wouldn't have enough for official entertainment. Yet in the end, all my genuine devotion became his excuse to humiliate and trample me. Yuqing, this is your elder sister. Aren't you going to greet her? Song mother said with a smile, gently urging her on. Zhang Yuqing approached with a shy smile and bowed to me. Yuqing greets sister. As she spoke, A few maids came in carrying trays filled with silks and jewelry. Song Zhaoyuan smiled and said, "Yining, these are gifts Yuqing prepared for you. See if they suit your taste." I glanced at the trays. Cloud brocade worth 1,000 gold per inch, exclusive to my family shop in Jiangnan. Colorful Persian gemstone bracelets from my family shop in Longxi. And a complete set of Eastern pearl hairpieces, the crown jewels of my family's jewelry shop in the capital. So she brought items from my own stores to please me and expected me to be grateful? Shameless. Oh, aren't all these from the Zhao family shops? I asked with a sweet smile, looking at Song Yaoyuan. If Miss Zheng is giving me these, should we call it offering Buddha flowers borrowed from his own altar? Perhaps he hadn't expected me to recognize the source of the goods so easily. Song Jiayuan's face turned awkward, then furious. "Yining, we're all family. Must you make things hard for Yuqing?" "Making things hard?" I said sarcastically, glancing at him, then pointing to Zheng Yuqing. If I told her to take off the clothes she's wearing and return all the jewelry on her head, that would be making things hard. Zheng Yuqing's outfit alone could feed a modest household for a year or two. And Song Zhaoyuan, a mere fifth-rank prefect, couldn't even afford the single Eastern pearl in her embroidered shoes with a month's salary. Silence. Song mother slammed the table in anger, making the teacups tremble. She jabbed a finger at me and shouted, "The Zhao family's down to just your younger brother now, and you still act this arrogantly in your husband's house. You've been childless for 3 years. That alone is enough for Zhaoyuan to divorce you." I rose to my feet. "Oh, then why hasn't he written the divorce letter and sent me away already?" According to the Great Zhou laws, if a wife was divorced and sent home, the husband's family had to return her full dowry. And the dowry list was in my hands. I had no fear of taking it to court. "You." Song mother was so angry she trembled. Song Zhaoyuan darkened and was about to speak, but Zheng Yuqing held him back. In a soft, gentle voice, she said, "Sister, I know you must resent me, but the Lord and I fell in love at first sight. We truly love each other. The Great Zhou permits a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Since the Lord and I are mutually devoted, no one can stop us from becoming husband and wife." Oh, who would have thought this seemingly delicate woman was such a tough one? I smiled. "No one's stopping you. I sincerely wish you to a long and happy life together. If someone else wanted to take out the trash for me, I ought to thank her for being a bodhisattva." I pointed to a few large, lacquered sandalwood chests by the corridor. "By the way, I've brought over the account books and household seals. From now on, Miss Jim will take over managing the household." When she saw the ornately carved chests, Zheng Yuqing could hardly contain her smile. "I will take good care of the household and do my best to ease mother's and my lord's burdens." She probably thought the Song family was sitting on a fortune and that managing the estate would let her stash away some generous personal savings. Too bad for her. The Song family can barely afford their own wedding. I curled up in my courtyard, going over the assets under my name. I had only gone through about 10 pages of the ledger when Mingyue began to stifle her laughter. "Miss, I didn't realize we were so rich. With so many shops and land, we couldn't possibly spend it all in 10 lifetimes." Mingyue had started calling me Mississippi. I liked the sound of it. "This is just a small part of it," I said, tapping her head. "You need to go out and bring Uncle Yen here." Uncle Yen was the major steward my mother had left me, loyal and dedicated to me. When I told him that from now on, no expenses for the Song family should be charged to my Zhao family shops, Uncle Yen nodded with a smile. "That's the way it should be. They've been taking advantage of us, and now they want to marry a concubine. A bunch of ingrates. If we don't rein them in, they won't know the weight of the iron pot." "It's not like I'm intentionally making things difficult for them," I said, not hiding my intentions from Uncle Yen. "I'm planning to divorce Song Zhaoyuan." "Let go of your cash cow. Do you think the Song family will just accept that?" he asked. "Then it will depend on my methods." "Just wait and see," I said, smiling at Uncle Yen. If it weren't for worrying about my younger brother's future and the negative reputation the family might gain if news of the divorce spread, I had countless ways to force the Song family to divorce me. Divorce wasn't easy, and the Song family wouldn't agree to it so easily. It needed careful planning. But no matter what, Song Zhaoyuan wouldn't have a proper wedding. Sure enough, just a few quiet days in my courtyard, and Song Zhaoyuan came knocking on my door. The moment his foot crossed the threshold, he started questioning me. Why is there only 3,000 taels left in the household account? What kind of management is this? Song Zhaoyuan's face was dark, and he glared at me with fury. I had never seen him like this before. I thought that after everything I had sacrificed, he would at least understand, that he would appreciate all I had done for him. It turns out, I was just fooling myself. Where has the money gone? He took a step closer, his voice demanding an answer. I could smell the fragrance on him. The incense in his clothes was still the formula I had once mixed for him. The subtle scent wafted through the air, but instead of being calming, it pierced my senses, nearly bringing tears to my eyes. Where has the money gone? I forced a bitter smile. Feel the silk on your robe. Think about the meals on your table. Then ask yourself, on a monthly salary of just 10 sure, can you afford the luxurious meals and fine clothes in this house? Song Zhaoyuan went silent for a moment before his tone softened. But there's still plenty of land in the estate, and its yearly income should be enough to support the whole family. I shook my head. The yearly income from the land is only enough to cover expenses for 3 months. That's impossible. Song Zhaoyuan didn't believe it. How could the household expenses be so high? I couldn't be bothered to argue with him anymore. Every transaction is clearly recorded. If you don't believe it, you can carefully check the books. Miss Zheng is good at writing and calculating. Have her check them with you. At the mention of Zheng Yuqing, Song Zhaoyuan's anger flared. You're doing this on purpose. You don't want Yuqing to smoothly marry in. Zhao Yining, even if the money's gone, I will make sure Yuqing marries into the family in style. Oh, really? I said, sipping my tea carelessly. Then I wish you all the best. Song Zhaoyuan stormed out in a fit of rage. Mingyue spat towards the door. The damned thing. I stopped her. Mingyue, tell Wang Mama from the kitchen to return everything to the way it was when I first married. From today on, all meals and provisions should be back to that standard. Mingyue covered her mouth, giggling. The ingrates are going to cry. What did the Song family eat before? 2 buns and a bowl of thin porridge in the morning, not even a little pickled vegetable. There was only 1 meat dish per day, and they said it was because Madame Song liked eating vegetarian food for her health. I saw her later, eating big pork knuckles with joy. Mingyue's words were so funny that I couldn't help but smile. We'll also give our own servants and maids here a little extra silver privately. If they don't like the big pot meals, they can go out to the streets to eat something better. Great. Mingyue cheered. The food at the restaurants outside is delicious. Miss, can we go out to eat too? We'll open a small kitchen, I said, pointing to the southeast corner of the courtyard. That wing room is empty, so in the afternoon, you can call the bricklayer to come and build the small kitchen. I had just finished a simple meal of 2 dishes and soup, and my little kitchen still hadn't been built when Mother Song came to visit. She brought with her a pair of jade bracelets as a gift. These are a special gift from the Empress Dowager to Zhaoyuan's grandmother in the palace. I've always kept them, but today I'll give them to you, Mother Song said with a loving smile. I picked up the jade bracelets and held them up to the light. The texture of the jade was delicate, clear and warm, and under the candlelight, they shone brightly. They were indeed a fine gift. Thank you, Mother, I said, accepting the bracelets graciously. A little bit of goodwill goes a long way. Seeing that I accepted the jade, Mother Song breathed a sigh of relief. Yining, what's going on with the meals in the kitchen? Why have the portions suddenly been cut so much? Oh, Mother, here's the thing. I smiled sweetly, even sweeter than her. Now that Miss Zheng is in charge, previously, I paid for the ingredients out of my own dowry money, which I gave to Mama Wang for the kitchen. But now that I'm no longer in charge, Mama Wang is following the original rules of the household. If Miss Zheng has any new regulations, she can just tell Mama Wang directly. Mother Song's smile froze. Yining, You've always been so kind and generous. Now that the family is planning a wedding, the accounts are a bit tight. Could you possibly? I interrupted her. My husband came to scold me this morning, saying that I'm not managing the household well. As for the household matters, don't bother me anymore, Mother. Oh, that brat. Mother Song pretended to scold Zhao Yuan, but seeing I was unmoved, she realized there was no turning back on the kitchen issue. She quickly shifted her strategy. Ening, could you lend us 10,000 taels to tide us over until we're in a better position? We'll pay you back once we're more financially comfortable. Before I could speak, Mother Song's maid, Liener, chimed in. Madam, the young mistress's dowry is quite substantial, so 10,000 taels isn't much for her. The whole paying it back thing sounds too distant. If you say that, the young mistress might get upset. Mother Song smiled and nodded at Liener. The young mistress has always been filial, and the household has been relying on her support these past years. Everyone speaks highly of her. I just smiled and said nothing, sipping my Lanya tea, enjoying the show. Mother Song lovingly patted my hand. Then it settled. Ening, Mother knows it's a bit hard on you, but once Yuqing enters the family, you should set some rules for her and make sure she knows that you are the main wife. Oh? I'm the main wife now. Not a secondary wife, with one living in the East Wing and the other in the West, with no distinction in rank. Mother Song's expression was getting more and more interesting. I enjoyed watching it. Seeing that I wasn't responding but kept smiling, she became even more confident, saying, There's one more thing. Yuqing's bridal gift boxes are still missing some fine brocade and jewelry. I had planned to buy them at your dowry shop, but the shopkeeper won't allow any more credit. Ening, what should we do about that? Liena spoke up again. The young mistress can just speak to the shopkeeper and get the same credit as before. That's true, Mother Song said with a gleam in her eyes. You've already given 10,000 taels, so what's a little extra, right? Uft. I almost spat my tea out. I had never seen such shamelessness before. I was truly witnessing a new level of audacity today. I lifted my hand and admired my freshly painted nails. Mother, I haven't agreed to lend 10,000 taels. Mother Song's face stiffened. I continued. My husband is marrying a secondary wife and now expects the main wife to pay for it. If this gets out, the entire capital will laugh their heads off. The Song family is respected, and my husband's reputation in Jiangnan is good. I'm sure Mother wouldn't want him to be labeled a cuckold, would she? Mother Song's face darkened, and she glared at me. So, you're saying you don't want to contribute a single coin? I can contribute the silver, but I have one condition. What condition? I waved at Mingyue, signaling her to hand something to Mother Song. It was a thin sheet of paper, and when Mother Song read it, her expression changed dramatically. A divorce agreement? You want a divorce, Yao Yuan? Yes. As soon as my husband signs the divorce, the 10,000 taels will go into the Song family's public treasury. Mother Song fell silent, holding the divorce papers in her hands, her eyes darting around. I knew she was calculating whether this 10,000 taels could drain my dowry dry. After some time, Mother Song finally made up her mind. Add another 40,000 taels. 50,000 taels, and I'll let Zhao Yuan divorce you. After more than 10 days of bargaining, I managed to buy the divorce agreement for 30,000 taels of silver. Watching the joyful figures of Mother Song and Zhao Yuan, I smiled faintly. The show was about to begin. The servants hired by Uncle Yen were already waiting outside the manor. At my command, Mingyue opened the side gate, and the servants entered one after another. The 100 sons and 1,000 grandchildren bed was moved out. The 16 screens adorned with entwined lotus flowers were moved out. The mirror table made of rosewood inlaid with fine mother-of-pearl was moved out. The Wang Wali wood writing desk, ink, paper, brushes, and precious rare books were all moved out. The incense table, incense burners, and the royal-grade roué long resin moved out. Not to mention the boxes full of gold, jade, brocade, and silk. Everything that could be moved was taken. Everything that couldn't be moved was smashed. I had the sturdy servant women guard the gates of the yard. By the time Mother Song, Zhao Yuan and Zheng Yuqing barged into my courtyard. The entire place was empty. Even the tricolor peonies I had spent a fortune planting were dug up, leaving only a messy pit. Mother Song clutched her chest and nearly fainted. You, Zhao Yining, you wretched girl. Have you gone mad? Zhao Yuan's face was ashen as he stared at me, silent, his gaze filled with poison. If it weren't for the guards blocking him, I was certain he would have struck me. Zheng Yuqing's face was cold. What do you mean by this, sister? You and my husband are already divorced. How can you destroy the things in this manner like this? She raised her voice and ordered the servants to report me to the authorities. I clapped my hands to brush off the dust. Report to the authorities? You'd better hurry up. Everything I moved or dug up was my dowry and has nothing to do with the Song family. If this goes to court, I'll just call more people and tear the roof off this house. Mingyuan nodded vigorously. Right. This house was also paid for by our young mistress. If we're going to report it, we might as well smash it all. Zhang Yuqing trembled, looking at Zhao Yuan in disbelief. Husband, is this true? She paid to repair the house. Zhao Yuan didn't dare look at her, only stubbornly retorting to me, then smash it. It'll be better to tear down the old, and I'll replace it with new ones. Shut up. Mother Song hastily grabbed Zhao Yuan's sleeve. Get out. Let her leave. Get her out right now. I quickly left with my servants and my gold and silver belongings, moving into the newly purchased mansion. The house had already been prepared. As for the furniture from the Song family, I didn't even let the servants bring it into my new home. I had them sell it all off at a low price. Furniture that had been tainted wasn't worthy of being in my house. The new house felt so comfortable, with no annoying old things and no ungrateful scoundrels. I sipped my tea in the breeze, admiring the flowers on the porch. It was truly a refreshing change. Just as I was enjoying myself, Mingyue came running over with a smile. Miss, the Song family has made a fool of themselves. A huge joke. A joke? What happened? I asked, instantly intrigued. I heard from a little maid in Zhao Yuan's courtyard that he slapped Zheng Yuqing in the face. They had a huge argument in the main house, and now they're both throwing tantrums, even talking about wanting to die. Oh. Originally, the Song family had planned to save money after the divorce, not buying new furniture and letting Zheng Yuqing move into the courtyard where you used to live. But they didn't expect you to move all the furniture out. Now they have to buy new things. Zheng Yuqing, having seen the furniture in your courtyard, is demanding the same set. Once the furniture was bought, the money just flowed out. Mother Song, feeling the pinch, asked Zhao Yuan to cut back on the wedding expenses and simplify things. But Zheng Yuqing wouldn't listen, saying that Mother Song looked down on her. They argued, and eventually, Mother Song slapped Zheng Yuqing in the face. Really that harsh? Yes. And there's more. Zhao Yuan, stuck between them, couldn't do anything. Pretending to be a filial son, he ended up scolding Zheng Yuqing alongside Mother Song. Zheng Yuqing called him stingy and outdated. Zhao Yuan, unable to tolerate being called poor, slapped her in return. Zheng Yuqing's face was humiliated, and now she's talking about wanting to die. Poor and humble couples live in constant sorrow. I shook my head. Just wait. There's more to come. 7. The drama soon unfolded. For the wedding of Song Yaoyuan, Song Mu tried to save money and skimped on everything, so the servants secretly bought some suspicious chickens and ducks for the banquet. What they didn't expect was that these chickens and ducks had died from the plague, and those who ate at the feast ended up vomiting and having diarrhea. In fact, one of the officials, due to severe diarrhea, died from dehydration. The Song family became the laughingstock of the capital, and Song Zhaoyuan earned the honorary title of Plague Chicken Governor. The officials' families sued Song Zhaoyuan at the Ministry of Justice. After the trial, it was determined that Song Zhaoyuan's poor management had caused deaths and injuries, so he had to pay a hefty compensation and was stripped of his official position, being demoted to a commoner. A few months later, word spread from the capital's pawnshops that the Song family's grand house was up for sale. Mingyue winked at me. Miss, should we buy the Song family's house back? Why buy it? It's bad luck. I laughed and shook my head, lifting the embroidered curtain of the jade green carriage slightly to let some fresh air in. Winter had arrived, and though the outside was icy with snow and biting winds, the inside of the carriage was lined with marten fur, decorated with soft satin, and had hot hand warmers placed at each corner. I was already sweating as I sat inside. As the cold wind blew through the curtains, I sighed in relief. "Miss, look. Isn't that Song Mu?" Mingyue suddenly whispered, pointing to an old woman by the street. I lifted the curtain higher and looked out the window. On the muddy, thawing street, a white-haired old woman was sitting next to a small griddle cake stall, shivering in the cold wind and looking longingly at the passing pedestrians. The passers-by hurried on, not stopping in front of her stall. It was no surprise. The griddle cakes were misshapen and poorly made, with little sesame and no crispness, far inferior to those from other stalls. Just as I looked away from the griddle cakes, I caught Song Mu's astonished gaze. When she recognized me, her eyes widened in shock, and her lips trembled. I then noticed her lips were cracked and bleeding from the cold. In such cold weather, she was wearing only a brown cotton coat, with the sleeves already worn thin and the yellow cotton stuffing exposed. I sighed and told Mingyue to get out and buy a few griddle cakes. Mingyue pouted. "Only you are so kind-hearted. Mississippi, don't you remember how she treated you back then?" "Enough, stop talking. Go buy them quickly," I urged Mingyue. Mingyue, wearing the old fox fur coat I gave her, jumped out of the carriage, her small face flushed from the warmth inside. When I saw Mingyue buy all the griddle cakes from the stall, I couldn't help but shake my head and smile. This girl, so stubborn on the outside but soft-hearted on the inside. Song Mu kept her head down, too ashamed to look Mingyue in the eye. She secretly pulled up her sleeve, trying to hide the worn-out area. At this moment, she must have felt a mix of emotions. The former servant girl, now in a fox fur cloak with a gold hairpin set with jewels, her wrists jingling with jade bracelets, while I was about to lower the curtain when a man suddenly appeared in my sight. The cold wind had turned his face red, and his messy beard made him look no more respectable than a street vagabond. "Yining, it's really you," the man exclaimed, delighted, calling my name. I finally recognized him. This was Song Zhaoyuan, the once fair and handsome Song Yaoyuan, who passed the imperial exam at the age of 18, had grown a beard and turned into a rough-looking man with a dark complexion. While I felt a bit of sympathy for Song Mu, sitting at the street stall in such cold weather, all I felt towards Song Zhaoyuan was disgust. "Yining, it was my fault back then. I've already divorced Cheng Yuqing. She's lazy and greedy for comfort. She was never a suitable match for me. Yining, we are the true married couple. After we divorced, I've regretted it every day. You are my true lucky wife. I was blind to treat a pearl as worthless. Yining, please forgive me." Song Zhaoyuan clung tightly to the window's curtain, unwilling to let go. He had clearly been drinking, and the stench made me want to vomit. I didn't want to waste another word on him, and waved to Mingyue, who was walking by with the griddle cakes, signaling her to chase him away. Seeing Song Zhaoyuan pestering me, Mingyue was furious. "What a shameless scoundrel. Your old mother is out in this freezing weather, selling griddle cakes on the street, and instead of helping her, you're out here harassing young ladies in broad daylight." The coachman also jumped down from the carriage with a whip in hand, standing in front of Song Zhaoyuan, ready to lash him at my command. "I'm talking to your mistress. What business is it of yours?" Song Zhaoyuan still tried to act tough in front of Mingyue, but his old jacket failed to protect him from the wind. Before he could finish speaking, his nose began to run, dripping down to his lips. Mingyue quickly jumped back. "How disgusting. The snot's dripping into your mouth. You're worse than a beggar, and still dare to lecture me. Get lost. Don't dirty my fox fur cloak." I couldn't hold back a laugh. Indeed, karma never fails. Back then, Song Zhaoyuan humiliated me, treated me coldly, schemed against me, and even tried to hit me. Now, he was begging like a beggar in a worn-out cotton robe. Heaven had eyes, and it made the wicked fall to such depths. It was truly satisfying. I smiled, took a few pieces of broken silver from my purse, and threw them far onto the muddy street. Song Zhaoyuan, stay away, don't dirty my curtain. At first, Song Zhaoyuan hesitated, but when he saw a few idle men running toward the silver, he rushed to pick it up. It's mine. The silver's mine. It was given to me by a noble. Get away. He didn't care about the filthy snow and mud on the ground as he bent down to gather the silver, his hunched body and messy hair in the wind, looking like a starving stray dog. I sneered, about to turn away, when a chill ran down my spine. I turned to see Songmu. Her old, sharp eyes locked on me, as though she wanted to gouge 2 blood holes into my face. She hated me. Just as Mingyue came up with the griddle cakes, I grabbed her sleeve and let the cakes fall out of the window. The crooked griddle cakes tumbled down, immediately landing in the mud. Songmu looked at the dirty cakes on the ground and then at me, sitting comfortably in the carriage, her eyes nearly popping out in rage. I smiled at her. Here, this is for you. Even our dog wouldn't eat this kind of filthy thing. I wasn't lying. My dog eats meat 3 times a day and has never had this kind of poor quality flatbread. Mingyue bought the griddle cakes, but only to give her some face. She hated me for embarrassing her son, so now I'd make sure her son continued to embarrass himself. I lowered the curtain and the carriage rolled forward, leaving distinctable tracks on the street. I knew they were watching the carriage leave, their eyes full of hatred and jealousy, wishing they could tear a piece of flesh off me. It felt so good to be hated like this. My happiness felt more solid and fulfilling than ever. Off we go back home to drink and eat meat. End of the story.